Business news now with Will Edwards. Will, we've been looking at the political implications of the state visit by French President François Hollande to Algeria, which begins today. You're looking at the business angle of things. It's as much about business as it is about politics, isn't it?
It certainly is. Certainly with the newly impoverished, I suppose you could say, France that we've been seeing over the last few years with the Eurozone crisis. It's rather turned the tables between France and its former colony, Algeria. Of course, Algeria itself doing rather well, what with oil and gas really contributing to the economy. France, like I say, dragged down by difficulties in the Eurozone and the wider global economy. France is still the number one source of Algerian imports due to its colonial history, apart from anything else, and big links, of course, between those who have dual citizenship. But China is expected to catch up in the next year or so and overtake France. So there's a lot at stake here. And a lot of French companies are, of course, still keen to invest, including Renault. They've announced a new assembly plant being set up. That deal is going to be inked today. And, of course, on a smaller scale, there are links being forged by thousands of French Algerians who spend their time between the two countries. Let's meet some of them.
In this leafy Parisian suburb, businessman Saleh Benloulou is visiting one of his many house renovation projects. His renovations business is just 4 years old.
There's plenty of demand. Insulation in France, there's at least 15 to 20 years work to do.
These are trainee salesmen. With a turnover of €5 million and no debts, the company's flourishing. 15 operators phone prospective clients from this room. Some, like Niafi Dogu, make some 700 calls per day.
Hello, this is Mrs. Roche calling.
You know how it is in France. You have to give them French-sounding names.
Saleh is planning to relocate this part of his business elsewhere. He's been visiting Algeria once a month for the past 2 years.
This is the only way out of the crisis. The future of France lies in Algeria.
For Salah, the future lies here, a residential building in an Algiers suburb. One apartment has been transformed into a call centre.
An operator in France costs around 1,800 euros a month. In Algeria, the same money gets you 7 operators. We hire people who speak French perfectly, who have a good accent. You get an Algerian person on the phone, but you'd swear they were in Paris.
Algeria now hosts around 30 such call centres, and it's starting to compete for business with Tunisia and Morocco. Salah's dual nationality is an important advantage. It's people like him who'll help to build future economic ties between France and Algeria.
A France 24 report there by Yoann Baudin and Kate Williams. Will, you're also looking at another story out of France this morning. You're expecting to hear today about new plans to shake up the banking industry.
Yeah, similar to what's been happening in the US, the UK, and elsewhere in the Eurozone, actually. It's the splitting of the more speculative areas of banking commerce from the day-to-day banking activities, what detractors call casino banking, basically investment in all sorts of stocks and derivatives. A lot of people say it caused the financial crisis, and the French government is planning to separate in some way these more speculative investments from the retail banking sector. It's we're going to see why later on today and how they're going to do it, although a lot of French banks have reduced their speculative investments anyway since the financial crisis.
Swiss bank UBS has been hit with a massive fine for its role in trying to manipulate the LIBOR rate. Remind us what that is.
That is, of course, an interbank lending rate, which affects everything from mortgages to loans, etc. Anything you get from a bank can be, in some ways, affected by LIBOR. Now, this rate basically is set by the banks themselves. They each say what rate they're getting, and an average is taken. Now, individual banks have been accused of trying to influence this rate for their own profit, basically trying to make it go up, and then putting bets on that effectively is how it would work. UBS has now been hit with a 1.2 billion euro fine, 1.4 billion Swiss francs, for its role in the affair by Swiss, British and US regulators. And it's not the only one, of course. Barclays famously pretty much lost its chief executive over the issue earlier in the year, and other banks are in the spotlight as well. UBS admits wrongdoing at its Japanese arm.
And as we do every day in the business news, we're looking at the latest developments in the fiscal cliff, the U.S. fiscal cliff saga. Democrats and Republicans closer to reaching a deal or not quite?
They are inching closer, and this has actually helped the markets if we just take a look at how things are going, because they liked what they saw. There are concessions on both sides in the fiscal cliff deal, with both Republicans and Democrats moving closer, and you can see there has been optimism, but of course no deal yet. We've got until the 31st of December. Otherwise, tax rises and spending cuts will kick in automatically regardless. Let's take a look at the Asian markets as well. The Nikkei has burst through the 10,000 mark for the first time since April. Investors happy with the new LDP government, which was voted in at the weekend, seen as a safe pair of hands, I think, compared to the less experienced DPJ. Also helped by news that Standard & Poor's is giving Greece an upgrade. Who'd have thought? Good news from the Greek economy in some ways. A vote of confidence upgrading them from junk status to B-.
Staying with the markets and company news, this is interesting. Some of the worst performing stocks at the moment are firearm companies.
Yes, that's right. Now, politicians obviously still scrambling to react to that terrible shooting on Friday, but already the markets really have spoken. Private equity firm Cerberus Capital says it's selling the maker of the Bushmaster rifle, which was, according to police, used in last week's shootings. They're getting out of that particular line of business. Meanwhile, one national sporting goods chain has suspended sales of assault rifles. Now, of course, they are going to be the focus of intense debate. You can see here the gun makers, Smith & Wesson, down nearly 10%, along with other gun makers as well. Walmart, on the other hand, they have pulled one particular line of guns from their website. You can see they're up. I don't know if that is specifically linked, but you can see there all those retailers trying to distance themselves from guns.
Photo sharing service Instagram has angered its users with a new license which says the company can use images without permission or compensation. Stephen Carroll explains.
It's the world's most popular photo-sharing smartphone app. Since its launch in 2010, around 100 million users have signed up to Instagram. In April of this year, it was bought by Facebook for $1 billion. On Tuesday, Instagram announced an updated privacy policy, giving it the right to sell users' photos to advertisers without notification.
You agree that a business or other entity may pay us to display your username, likeness, photos in connection with paid or sponsored content or promotions without any compensation to you.
Instagram maintains the updated privacy policy will make it easier to share information with Facebook, detect system problems and fight spam. But after uproar online among users who said the changes would destroy the business, its co-founder issued a statement saying the move had been misinterpreted.
To be clear, it is not our intention to sell your photos. Instagram users own their content, and Instagram does not claim any ownership rights over your photos.
The company says it will be making changes to the policy after the backlash. The privacy update is due to take effect on January 16th. Users wishing to opt out will have to close their Instagram accounts. Logging into the service will give their consent to the changes.
Well, when is an iPhone not an iPhone? And bear in mind, I have an axe to grind. Mine broke down 2 days ago.
Well, you might be in the market then for a new Brazilian iPhone. This is one being put on the market by IGB Electronica. They're calling it an iPhone, a range of iPhones they're hoping
Looks
to have.
very similar.
Looks very similar, but it actually runs Google's Android software. Now, so how are they getting away with that? The thing is, they say they did apply for the patent for Brazil, the trademark for the iPhone name, back in 2000, 7 years before Apple's iPhone actually came out. Of course, it was after Apple had come up with the iMac and iMovie, so maybe they could kind of see which direction things were going in and thought it might be an idea to get iPhone. But it's probably going to get quite a bit of cash out of Apple, because a similar thing happened in China. Another company had the iPad trademark before Apple did, and they ended up paying them $60 million. So that could be the plan there.
Will Edwards with the business news. Thank you very much. We've got world news back at the top of the hour with Stuart Norville. Bye-bye.